It is so lovely to be home with all of you Kiwis. So the story starts here on the 3rd of July last year. I was getting ready. My company, GoodWorld, is based in a technology incubator in Washington, D.C. called 1776. And I was getting ready for work, late as usual, when I got an urgent email from the founder of 1776, Donna Harris, saying, if you're coming into the office today, come in right now because we've got a very important visitor. President Obama is coming. So I rushed into the office, arrived just as Secret Security was about to lock the place down, and was very fortunate to be able to pitch him my company, GoodWorld. And then in the next pinch yourself moment, it ended up on the cover of the New York Times the next day. So what was the idea that impressed the president so much that it ended up on the front cover of the New York Times? Well, it all started here in Invercargill, New Zealand, in this place called the Mirahiku Marae. Now, as I tell my friends in the States, the New Zealand Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand, and a marae is a place where people go to meet and celebrate and have important meetings. And I used to love coming to this place. I used to love the challenge of the warriors as we would walk up to the marae. I used to love the oratory as the hosts and the visitors would state and restate their intent until they reached consensus. And I used to love the singing and the music. But most of all, I was in awe of the feeling of inclusion in that place. And it's really, really hard to explain in words what that feels like, but I think it's best expressed by the face of this gorgeous little girl. And so I felt really connected in that place, but I also felt very isolated, and I felt a longing to belong. And that many years later led me to research Maori leadership for 8 years under the guidance of some of the great Maori leaders, Sir Paul Reeves, Sir Hirini Moko Mead, Sir Ngātata Love, and Matini Love. And I learned many, many things during those 2 years, but there were 2 cultural values which deeply informed my worldview, which I want to share with you now. One is whanaungatanga, or connectedness, and the other is utu, reciprocity or balance. So whanaungatanga is the glue that holds us all together, and what is that glue? It's human relationships. And the strength of those relationships depends on your genealogy, but it also depends on how the relationships are formed and nurtured. The other value, utu, teaches us how we interact with people is very important. That has a direct consequence. Being in right relationship with people is very important. It's like that old Franciscan prayer. If you take, something will be taken. If you give, you will receive. And there is much research which shines light further on these concepts. For example, Bob Cialdini's book on influence, which has sold over 2 million copies. But this feeling in the marae really started to make sense to me when I joined a research program at Harvard on a concept called allophilia, which means to like or love the other. So allophilia is a theory of intergroup leadership, which studies how big, diverse groups of people can come together and work together effectively through the power of love. And of course, as we know, the Maori are made up of many, many tribes all around New Zealand and have more recently come together in a series of many things like a television station, a political party, and a Maori economic movement, the Hui Taumata. So how is this connected to social media? Social media is like human connection on steroids. It's like whanaungatanga on steroids. There's a lot of criticism about social media, and we've heard some here today. Projecting an idealized sense of self, the cult of the selfie, how it can make people feel isolated. But regardless of the quality and depth of those connections, we're connected with each other on an unprecedented level. If we tallied up all the people on Facebook, it would be the 3rd largest nation in the world. 27% of all time spent online is spent on social media. And we see not only people who we know and are connected with, our friends, our family, our colleagues, but we see people from all over the world, and we see how they live. We see how children live in Norway. We see how children live in New Zealand. We see how children live in Pakistan, how children live in Sudan. We see the faces of people in riots and earthquakes and horrific injustices and death. And we see the haves and have-nots in a way that we have never seen them before. So we are connected, we have whanaungatanga, but are we in balance? And in this global community where we are such short on resources, we need to begin to ask ourselves, are we givers or are we takers? So last summer, something truly remarkable happened on social media, and that was the Ice Bucket Challenge. The Ice Bucket Challenge was the single biggest thing that has ever happened to Facebook. There was over 10 billion video views, viewed by over 440 million people. Over $117 million was raised in just under 6 months, and 83% of those donations came directly off Facebook. And there was an outpouring of support towards the ALS community, and then that sparked other viral giving campaigns. For example, this one here, which is the Lyme Disease Challenge. And all of a sudden, people were challenging each other, people were giving to each other's causes. All of a sudden, it was like utu on social media, and it was contagious. And since this time, giving on social media has increased exponentially. We're starting to see a culture of generosity develop on social media, and I ask you all to join us in fanning the flames, because these generous acts, I think, are something that can really help bring us back into balance, back into utu. Is generosity the modern-day utu? This was the idea that intrigued the president, and it is really happening. My company, GoodWorld, helps make donating on social media very, very easy. It's really, really simple. All you have to do is write #donate on a Facebook post, and it's a quick one-time sign-up, and then you can write #donate to any of our partner charities, and the donation just comes off your credit card. Same thing on Twitter, you just tweet #donate at a charity. There's a lot of viral giving events sparking up. For example, this one. It was Keith's birthday, and he posted on Twitter, for every birthday wish, up to $250, I'll give $1 to the Beagle Freedom Project. And that ended up growing and growing and growing until he gave $350 because there were so many people giving, and then a corporation came in and matched that. So hundreds of people giving together just based on one tweet. This is another example of the ALS Association. This is me at the launch last year, and over 60 people donated over $1,000 to the ALS Association in just 1 minute. So it's addictive and it's contagious, and people have great fun when they're giving together. And one thing I wanted to talk about, which is really important, is that giving is paradoxical. There is scientific evidence that generosity can actually be seen as a self-serving act. It's very powerful. At the University of Notre Dame, there is a large body of work that has been produced that show that people who have a sustained giving practice are happier, they have a greater life purpose, they have bigger networks, so they have more access to jobs, more friends, and they are less depressed. The thesis is this: there are 3 types of people in the world. There are givers, which are the people that give without any expectation of return. There are takers, those people that will take everything from you, but most people are matchers. They like to live in balance with each other. So they like to trade evenly. So the secret is, if you give to somebody, that person will give back to you, but they will give a little bit more because they won't want to be in debt to you. And so the giving goes on, and and can really motivate people to be good. So the secret is, people, give what you want to receive, and then just a little bit more. So the message of this presentation is simple. There's a culture of generosity being sparked on social media. Generosity is the bridge or the connector that can connect us with other people, both people we know and people from across the other side of the world. It's like a type of modern-day utu. There are all different types of ways we can be generous, whether it be a smile, whether it be taking baking to our neighbour when we're sick, whether it be donating, and give what you want to receive. Thank you.